All right. Okay. The time is now 6 o'clock. I will call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. It is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. And Chief, have you noted the roll?
I have, thank you.
All right. Approval of minutes from November 26, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion or changes, modifications? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes approved. Appearances. We have some folks that are here to speak. Do you have a list of names or?
I do.
Okay.
Starting with Bonnie.
Starting with Bonnie Rowe from Madison.
Right, go ahead and stay here.
If I can ask you, if you decide to stay there, if I could ask you to project, please.
Stay that.
Okay.
Members of the Public Safety Committee, as a resident who lives closer to the Monona side of Madison, I'm sad to see our local law enforcement agencies at odds with each other. And as one who strongly values community safety, I view this shift in mutual aid response with sadness and frustration, but also understanding. I value the way our law enforcement partners work together, especially in a time of strained resources, to respond quickly and willingly across our borders. When it comes to backup, having that quick, willing, unquestioning response is a thing of beauty for our police officers out on the streets. From my perspective, that response has always been a reciprocal system, not a transactional one, until now. While I understand why Madison has a very strict pursuit policy, I also really value Monona's pursuit policy. Your chief does a great, transparent job of writing press releases to help us, the public, understand the values of the city of Monona in deterring crime and reckless driving on our streets. It's the #1 concern or complaint of the city of Madison yet. I've looked at the particulars of your pursuit policy and I understand why you have it. And I appreciate MLPD's help in making our streets safer. It's disappointing to me that the city of Madison's resolution has prompted a change in our mutual aid relationship that could contribute to the loss of some regional safety. And I validate Monona's frustration. When regional partners operate with a technology gap, the agencies with cameras, like Monona, carry the administrative and discovery workload on those calls, and it has a real fiscal impact. While policy debates over billing or pursuits are a separate matter of leadership priorities, the lack of body-worn cameras is a resource failure. MPD leadership is ready for this technology forever, but the delay is a city of Madison budget and council issue. I don't view this resolution as a divorce between our neighboring agencies, but as a clear signal to the city of Madison that regional safety requires technical parity. We need cameras on Madison police officers to protect the budgets and the officers of the neighbors who support us. Disputes over policy are manageable. Disputes over a lack of evidence and administrative burnout are not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And do we have anyone else registered to speak or interested in speaking?
Tim Richmond, City of Madison.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Thanks for allowing this. I'm a City of Madison resident, as the chief said, but I'm speaking in support of the agenda or the resolution on tonight's agenda. 10 years ago, 2 Madison residents launched a program named the Good Neighbor Project. It focuses on building relationships between neighbors and neighborhoods. I have one of the founders here. I know she doesn't like it. Anyway, since 2019, I'm proud to have coordinated and served as the administrator of one of the Good Neighbor projects under her guidance. We have over 1,000 members. Our motto is connect, communicate, and come together. We're neighbors who put aside differences to look out for and help each other. Speaking of good neighbors, now I'll get a little salty. As a Madison resident, I'm a little embarrassed to say that the city of Madison isn't being a good neighbor. To be clear, and not piling on the City of Madison Police Department officers. The main author of Madison Resolution number 90986 stated that, quote, Madison has rarely sought reimbursement as it has attempted to be a good neighbor to surrounding municipalities with law enforcement agencies that follow law policies and procedures on a reasonable restriction of vehicle pursuits. That Alder did not add as long as it aligns with our policies. Now I'll get even a little bit insulting. It's okay to have differences in operations and policies among departments, but perhaps a city that does not allow body-worn cameras, does not allow school resource officers, and a few years ago attempted to take away less than lethal options away from the police department, should not be the ones to dictate policy to the county or lecture anybody about modern practices of policing. It makes me wonder what communities around here are thinking. McFarland, Cottage Grove, Maple Bluffs, Shortwood Hills. They've all helped Madison, but now I'm starting to wonder, what are they thinking? And Monona's taking the lead on this. Just in closing, I believe in unity over division. You help your neighbor not because they agree with you, but because they live next door. Focusing on shared goals and community cohesion and recognizing what brings communities together is stronger than what divides them. I believe that this resolution in Madison is gonna start to divide not only cities, but departments. And Monona is taking the first stand, and I'm glad to see that. I hope others have the will to follow what you are doing or what you could do tonight or at the council meeting in a couple of weeks. And I hope Madison brings it up again and rethinks about that resolution. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in speaking?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Hi. This is Rick Bernstein. I'm sorry I can't turn on my camera right now, but I'll just make one small point. I read the resolution as it's attached to the agenda, and I emailed to Patrick and Chief Cheney. There was an amendment to that resolution that I thought you might want to let the committee see and understand. I think it was one of the stipulations in the resolution that I think really offers some hope, and that there be some continuing dialogue between the city of Madison and the city of Monona's police. So I just wanted that piece of information to be made available.
Alder Bernstein, can you resend that? Neither Patrick or I received it.
Okay, I will resend it.
It looks like I just got it.
Just received it?
Yes.
Okay. Alder DePula has just received it. So you can.
Okay, good.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so seeing no other appearances, Luke?
All right. So I'm Officer Luke Blunt, Monona Police Department, currently assigned the school resource officer role within the Monona Grove School District. Coming up on 21 years of law enforcement experience and 10 years in the school. I've had the pleasure and distinction to work not only here, but within the school system. Today, I kind of wanted to bring forth a program I'm trying to get started. Trying to get a dog, a facility service dog. So about 8 years ago, I went and saw a presentation on therapy dogs being brought into the schools and what the benefits of that is in helping with students and their mental health and behavioral problems and how they can help solve that and de-escalate situations. So I proposed it to our former chief, didn't really gain any traction, brought it back when Chief Cheney came on board, and we had other priorities at the time. So now we are revisiting that because we have a lot of partners within the community that are supportive of us. So one of the reasons that I moved away from kind of the therapy dog into the service dog world is because they come with a lot more training, and so they have a lot more benefits. They can do certain things that the handler can direct them to do that a therapy dog just kind of sits there and allows you to pet it, right? There isn't a whole lot that comes with it. So something that a service dog can do, other than the obvious extensive training that it goes through. It has de-escalation support is what it can be used for in the schools. So providing a calming presence, something for, to reduce the tension in those emotional crises in school where kids are maybe dysregulated. Tactile grounding, so you can offer physical contact, like putting pressure, leaning, pawing, or laying across a student's lap to help de-escalate them and keep them present and in the moment. Behavioral interruption, so it can redirect people who are dysregulated. I mean, who doesn't want to pet a dog, right? I mean, unless you have severe allergies, but that's obviously where the rest of the tools come in that I am trained to do. You can, as a handler, you can take a service dog and have it approach somebody on cue and do particular things, right? So they can respond to certain cues that are given. They are trained to be able to deal with loud noises, crowds, all the things that you would experience in a school or maybe the Memorial Day Parade or the festival that we have on the 4th of July here in Monona. So it isn't just for the school, but for the police department and the community as a whole. Not forgetting about our Madison neighbors as well, or Cottage Grove or anywhere else that may need this support in the future. But it is also a great ice-breaking tool for me as police officer and as an SRO to build rapport with citizens and students that may not otherwise want to have a conversation with us. I feel like I'm pretty approachable, but sometimes the badge or the uniform or the title of police officer can take that welcoming presence away. And so a dog, I think, will help supplement that. We do have, I mentioned, partners that are in support of this. So Custom Canines is here tonight, who is training Recon, who is here with us and present to be able to see. So they are wanting to partner with us at the Monona Police Department and with the Monona Grove School District. Our superintendent is also here to show support of the program. Pet Supplies Plus here in Monona, Badger Veterinary Hospital in Cambridge, Oregon Police Department, Precision Towing, Mounds Pet Food Warehouse, and AMS have all been partners with us so far up until this point as we try to bring this forward. That's really all that I have to say. Just wanted to give some information. I do want to allow Nicole from Custom Canines to give a little bit more background detail on kind of her program with the service dogs and what that looks like in case there's any questions. Nicole.
Perfect. Thank you for having us. We have a few dogs that are service dogs within different school districts. The other one in Dane County would be Crumble at the Mount Horeb school district, and he placed Crumble in that in the high school after their active shooter incident almost 2 years ago. And they seen just a significant benefit having a service dog there. Granted, Monona thankfully hasn't had a crisis, but God forbid if that were to ever happen, you're going to be glad you have a service dog there and with that therapy dog. But Crumble was able to go right to work for those kids that didn't want to come into the building, scared to go to class, scared to walk in certain areas of the building. And he's just been a very invaluable member of that school district now at this point as far as the students go. We also have a lot of dogs that work with our first responders and our police departments, and I think you will also find that to be hugely beneficial for your brothers and your sisters that you work with on a daily basis. Whether it's debriefings or de-escalating situations as far as what happens within your peer group and things like that. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Luke really described what a service dog is versus a therapy dog pretty well. But our dogs are trained to mitigate different situations, panic attacks, the de-escalation parts of it, dissociation, that you guys have to deal with in the schools.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? All right.
I think you have a Madison resident who spoke earlier, but
Yep.
it's your call, Chair. She's not a part of the appearance group.
That's fine. I'm fine with it. Yes.
Well, I'll just say quick that, my son goes to Abundant Life Christian School and, he didn't go there last year, but they still have two service dogs that come to, two service dogs twice a week that come into the school, and it's been such a good thing for those kids. So I just felt like adding that because, we've seen the benefits there, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And do we have any more presentation at this point?
Chief, question.
Hmm?
Kyle is here, who's been training Recon, the dog that's here, who's currently in the Stoughton High School. Is he able to share kind of his impact?
Oh,
of what he's
absolutely.
seeing at Stoughton?
Yes, please.
So she doesn't stay with me at the Stoughton High School. She does with our principal in our current SRO. We just got an SRO, who was a little disappointed that this is going down, but it's a great cause. So she does a tremendous job de-escalating situations, students with special needs. We have a significant needs student who will have an episode and she walks into the room and it's a light switch. And so, I mean, you're talking hours not moving, and with the dog, it's a light switch will just change the mood. Like Luke said, getting those icebreakers, students that don't normally come see the principal or the SRO, if they have the dog come up and start talking, and it's just avenues to open up. So there's a lot there, but she's that situation as well. She's in a school at least twice a week, so all day long. So if you have any questions specifically, I can get into it, but
Yeah.
there's still that out there as well. So
I know it's not typical, but do any of the committee members have any questions of any of the registrants?
What is the difference in training? We talked about in schools, in the community, you see service dogs that we have usually with the police departments, but with schools, what is the difference in training?
The difference between like our service dogs and a therapy dog that you would see in the school normally. Our service dogs start training at 8 weeks old, as far as being taken out into the public and being exposed to all different types of situations. The therapy dogs that you see, they might have to go through a canine good citizen test, which is a very basic obedience test. And then the handler also goes through a written test, but beyond that, those dogs don't have public access. Therefore, those handlers can't get those dogs out and about and exposed to whatever it might be. So our dogs from the very start are being taken out of the public and being trained. And then our dogs at Custom Canines, we have some benchmarks that the dogs have to pass. There's 4 different tests. Which is that and pretty good test that's out done out in the general public where they actually demonstrate to the conflict or their handlers or other people out in the public as well. So they're usually placed by the time they're 2 years old, but it's continuous training for about 2 years before they're placed out.
So the difference with the service dogs that are at police departments that go out and take off and track people and that kind of thing, this is not that.
This totally different training. So the working police dogs, they go through their own programs, doing bite work, tracking, obedience, drug sniffing, box sniffing, those types of things. This is totally different. We teach the dogs how to do task work to mitigate people's disabilities, if you want to say. So we're teaching them different commands to do that help people with whatever that issue is that they're having. So whether it's, post-traumatic stress, panic disorders, de-escalation issues, associative people, children with autism, we've done a lot of docs for that. They can do so much. They can do type of glycemia. It's pretty amazing what the docs can do.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Have you gotten to the point of deciding, like, if this were approved, how many days the dog would be in the school? Or
So if the program is approved and we move forward with it, the idea and the thought would be that it would be with me every day. So my schedule unless I'm on a special assignment or somewhere else. I'm in the schools every single day, so Monday through Friday, anytime the kids are there, I'm there. And that would be when the dog would be with me and available for services, if you will.
Any other questions?
May the videographer say something?
Yes.
Okay, doing a horrible job at it.
Yes. A little confusing this evening.
Yeah, well, first of all, Bonnie, let me apologize for saying City of Madison resident. I mean, you're Bonnie Rowe. I appreciate you being here and willing to speak on this particular topic as well. So, but Superintendent Frederick, thank you very much for your support and the school district support. Obviously, we could not do this with you. Thanks for giving it some good hearty thought to see if this was something that could benefit the community in which you serve. Custom Canines, couldn't thank you enough. I was highly impressed by those of you who attended the Dane County Chiefs Association meeting, and I learned, I mean, I knew about you, you'd visited us at the PD, but to really see and learn a little bit more about how the services are provided, really opened my eyes. And then obviously to all of our sponsors who are willing to help put this together and make the implementation of the program easier, I should say. To our mayor, Nancy Moore, who couldn't be here, but has supported this and has expressed her strong support for this program, as well as our city administrator who's in the room, Administrator Stetschulty, and then certainly Recon for doing the work that Recon does, and Luke. Luke did come to me, as he said, when I first started. We had a lot on our plate, being a new chief, being a new we had some staffing issues. We had a lot of changes that we were working on, as you all know, because I report here. But Luke, and one of the many strong qualities that he has is quite persistent. And I appreciate his persistence because this is something that he is very passionate about. And that passion showed in his work to get this together. So thank all of you who played a role. I have some strong confidence, unless there are some hurdles that come our way that we have not been made aware of or that we visited, that this will follow through and we will see Recon in the schools. So that's why I've asked this to come to you all in case you've identified any concerns, issues that between now and say the next few weeks, you might want to bring to light by way of the mayor or myself or the city administrator. Or obviously the chairperson of the committee. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And with that, we'll close the public hearing portion and the appearances portion of the meeting. We have no unfinished business. We do have new business. A, discussion and consideration of City of Monona resolution regarding mutual aid requests and risk management. Chief.
I'll defer to you.
You'll defer to me. So what we have before us is a resolution that has been drafted in response to the City of Madison resolution 90986, which is a resolution that directs their administration to put together a plan to seek reimbursement of costs in relation to expenses that are incurred while performing mutual aid with other municipalities. But specifically in their public safety meeting that led up to this and at the council, it was very much discussed that the intent was to influence its neighbors, specifically Monona, called out by name, and their pursuit policies to come in line with what the City of Madison called national best practices, which essentially was based upon a study performed and paid for by the Department of Justice that the Department of Justice does not endorse, but talked about in implementing more restrictive pursuit policies in police departments around the country. Madison has a much more restrictive police pursuit policy where they do not rely on the judgment and training of their officers to make decisions in the field. Instead, that policy is dictated by the Common Council, and it's a blanket policy where they basically do not pursue unless that there is a imminent violent crime being performed or in process. And Chief, can you speak a little bit about it at all?
I would sort of just defer to their own policy. I believe it's published.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm getting the policy
I
correct.
feel like
mostly
you've tapped on the sentiment or the root of the policy.
So they passed it at their common council meeting, and then we had drafted a resolution, basically amending our policy on how we ask for mutual aid. So has everyone had a chance to go through the resolution? Does anyone have any questions about it or comments at all?
So we talk in our resolution about, it being potentially significant expenses.
Mhm.
The Madison resolution does not quantify it in any way, but does refer to a particular incident from September 2025. Do we have a sense maybe tied to that incident of what sort of costs we're talking about, both in terms of scale and what would be captured in it?
Well, are we able to speak?
Yeah, if they're
About-
limited in some ways, I understand that.
Are we able to speak about the current, what we received the other day?
Yeah, so I, as staff, I guess, and I've had a conversation with our city attorney recently. The City of Madison's insurance company, WMIC, did file a request for compensation with the city of Monona that has been addressed on our end with our insurance company. Because that is an open claim, we've been advised really not to talk too much about that particular incident. However, I will say, I believe Aldo DePula was in the room or virtually in the room when this issue was brought up at the City of Madison's council, and their chief did speak on the dollar amount or the estimated ballpark dollar amount.
The chiefs, in that public meeting, the chief stated that it was at least $500,000.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and that was not a, and he clarified that by stating that it wasn't, he doesn't know what the specific number is. It was a guesstimate at this point. So.
How did they figure $500,000?
I think that in that meeting, they discussed wage and hour and workman's comp and damage to their vehicle. And they ballparked the figure at about that point. So there was no, they weren't showing invoices or anything like that. It's more or less an estimate.
So is the assumption that whatever's envisioned that would come up with this in the future would likely be of the nature of insurance claims, or could it be broader than that? Because the language here is pretty vague.
It's pretty, yes. And part of it is looking at potential future scenarios. What happens if Madison Police is responding to a mutual aid request with a crash on the Beltline, and the driver of the police vehicle gets in an accident and hurts somebody else? Are they going to bill Monona for that because they're responding to a call on the Beltline? I mean, is that what we're looking at? So we're, with our chief, we had a discussion and came to the conclusion that we really should consider, if we're going to ask Madison Police, now that there's this litigious element, if we're going to ask for help, if we don't need to, if we're going to ask other agencies first. So.
May I provide another scenario or hypothetical that probably is more aligned with the incident that happened in September, which I believe I'm getting some head nods here. I think everyone's familiar with. Say in this scenario, a request for mutual aid was asked. As you all know, we have had armed standoffs in our community here in Monona. Worst case scenario that any of us ever want, anyone losing their life. But say in that scenario, Madison responds and a police officer from the Madison Police Department, God forbid, gets shot, right? Gets hurt by the suspect. Similarly to how the incident in September happened, where there was an act committed by the suspect that hurt a Madison officer. How I see this, and some of the discussions I've had, obviously with legal and others, is that also is applicable to the passage of Madison's resolution and what they're saying. I think the focus was on pursuits, but the way the resolution is written and some of the conversations that I've been made aware of that have been happening in the public forum through meetings that are on YouTube, is that we are liable for those too. And I will just say this, obviously I've been contacted by other chiefs of police, not only here in Dane County, but across the state, who've been made aware. It's my understanding anecdotally, I've not done the research, that this is unprecedented, that there's a lot of concern at the association level about this, what that means for safety and collegiality and working together in a post 9/11 world where that's what we've learned basically from that. We need to do a better job of communicating with one another. You've heard me here talk about sharing records and having access to records of other agencies and how we were working on that. There's a genuine concern that moving forward, when managers like myself are more sometimes focused on the fiscal liability of things, that it may cause some of us pause. I have directed our officers that you shall go if it's a life and safety issue. You shall request the Madison Police Department if you need to on a life and safety issue. However, if you were not aware, the day after this resolution, in consultation with others, I did issue a directive, as is my purview, I'm under my authority as your chief, to the officers that they shall not request the City of Madison Police Department unless it's a life or safety issue. While this all gets sorted out, because I, as a de facto risk manager of the city, also needed to make sure that I protect those interests as well, while also protecting the officers. If you think about it from my perspective, the officers, when they are in an emergency situation or they're in a situation where they need that extra help, they are not in control of two things: what the suspect might do, right? Or what the officers who are responding to help, what risks they might be in by responding. Because we can get resources for help to an incident on the Beltline that may come from miles away if there's no other officers available. And so why risk that for the regular routine type calls? Instead, I think we need to think absolute life and safety. Don't hesitate. Request for help wherever it's available. But we're in some a space of ambiguity here because this has never really come up. And so this would be creating some sort of precedent is what I was told by legal counsel. So potentially.
And to just dovetail off that a little bit, I mean, it's clear that this change in their policy is to, it goes without saying, to bully their smaller neighbors in order to come online with a policy that they have chosen. And they feel that we should also choose their policy. So.
I did ask,
Mhm.
I did ask Andrew Hoffman. He's on duty, but he is also the association president. So he's a union president for your police officers. He and I have had regular discussions. Obviously, his interests are similar to mine, making sure that our officers are safe, making sure that they work safely, they operate safely, and they have the resources that they need to do the job. That includes backup. I have assured him, based on the phone calls that I've had and the communication I've had with other chiefs of police in our area, without hesitation, we've received full support from our suburban partners who will respond to our requests for mutual aid or assistance and may proactively respond because they monitor we're on an independent police radio different than Madison and Dane County. Several agencies choose to monitor your police department's police radio, knowing that our officers do get into some very dangerous situations, from time to time. And so I've gotten some commitment from, I've gotten some very strong commitment from the suburban chiefs of police that they will continue to encourage their officers to respond to back up the Monona Police Department. I was privy to information that there was some internal reference or some internal communication within the Madison Police Department that also encouraged their officers to continue to respond to assist your police department as well. So, so the boots on the ground, they're still talking, they're still working together, they're still communicating. I think that this is a policy issue that our big neighbor has made that is causing some consternation and some confusion. And I, as your police chief, I'm just trying to make sure that our interests are protected, our officers remain safe, and then I'll let the policymakers make a decision as to what needs to happen from there.
And Andrew, did you want to contribute anything?
I'm here if you guys have questions.
Okay.
If you guys are curious about what, the officers are thinking, how like the day-to-day stuff is going, like I can answer questions to that, but I don't necessarily need to interject myself.
Okay. And this is a first read, correct?
Well,
Or-
we don't typically do
or
two
we're
except for
not-
budget time, so
Okay.
the consideration is actionable, I guess.
Okay. So about the resolution, does anyone have any questions specifically about anything that's in the resolution or potential modifications or?
I think it's a shame because I see this whole thing weakening mutual aid.
Mhm.
And I was on the fire department here for 30 years. And we really depended on mutual aid, both giving it and receiving it for that time period. Some of you have been around long enough to remember the butter fire in Madison. Madison's fire department's first response was, we can handle it. After 24 hours, it was, can you guys come and help us? And in my job at Wisconsin Emergency Management, I was part of an executive committee that drafted the framework for a national mutual aid program. And I was heartened to see with some of the severe weather that we had south and east of here, where communities were bringing in hundreds of utility repair vehicles in different communities because they knew what they were going to have with ice and the disruption of electricity and other essential services. So I think we need to do whatever we need, keep mutual aid strong, because none of us are big enough to handle what could be unknown.
Thank you for that. Anyone else?
Can I opine a little bit more?
Yep.
Just to inform, because I walk into this room sometimes, just a bunch of assumptions that people know, some of the top terminology or contracts or agreements. We have one formal contract or an MOU, an agreement in our county, and that is called CAPMAR, the Capital Area Police Response Mutual Aid something, please, sorry. It's been known to me by CAPMAR as my whole career. And those have been activated for significant events. Think of the Sun Prairie explosion incident. Think of a prolonged, mass casualty incident in which, several resources are. And what CAPMAR does is there's an agreement in which each police agency, depending on what level request is needed for that emergency, sends that respective resource. So say it's a large scale event here, heaven forbid in Monona, and I've activated the, third to highest level of CAPMAR. That means I'm going to get so many supervisors, so many officers, and so that is the current system that your police department has entered into an MOU with, an agreement with all the other police agencies who are part of that within our county. But outside of that, there's no standing agreement. The reason I bring that up is because it is a matter of routine every day. I think across the nation, well, I don't want to speak across the nation, certainly across the state, certainly here in Dane County, where I've only been a police officer, where we ask for help and we know help is coming. It is normal for officers to just give out information and assume that help is coming, not using the words mutual aid. Regularly, we say, can I get some help? Can I get another unit? And agencies, unlike the fire department, self-assign, right? They go on their own, right? Or they get whatever internal permissions they might need to leave their communities, but then they go, right? We're not specifically on the air saying, I would like mutual aid from Fitchburg. I'd like 2 from Maple Bluff. We don't do that in our profession here in Dane County.
So it's not like ordering from McDonald's.
Correct. We don't order from a value menu. When we need help, we say we need help. And it's in our DNA as cops. And I see Andrew nodding his head over there. We go, right? And as your chief, I have authorized our officers. There's 2 wonderful things. We really don't rely too much on that legal mutual aid, because mutual aid has to come from me or somebody who I designate as being able to accept that request for mutual aid and react to it, right? And sometimes just that barrier alone and think, okay, who's in charge today? Who's got more senior, or who's able to make that authorization that the chief has designated? Listen, I'm here some weekends. I'm not here all weekends, not a lot of weekends. I'm not here at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're relying sometimes on your, most junior officers who end up working those shifts to make these very important decisions. We train that, we talk about it, and I authorize and empower those officers to make the decision to say, yes, I need help, or yes, I can help another agency. That's how it's been here in this community since I've been a cop, going on 25 years, without question, without fear of having for the dress reimbursement. And trust me, I've managed and helped manage some major significant events in my prior job. I think you all know where I worked. And those are some big events. Those are some large scale events. I worked the first Freak Fest unrest, I think we call it, in 2002. I didn't even have a baton issued yet, but I was out there trying to figure out what I was going to do. I obviously was in charge of emergency management for my former police department during 2020. I think we all know what happened during 2020, some significant civil unrest. I was the person picking up the phone and making the calls to St. Croix, Buffalo County, Wausau PD. I called the governor's office and WEM to get the National Guard. That was me in my former role at my former agency. And when I called and I had those conversations, people came, right? People came. My concern is that if I spend more time talking or having to address the monetary aspects of the help, that there's a chance that there's going to be a hesitation, or that I'm going to have to go through risk management first, right, of that municipality, or somebody will have to get back to me. We're talking about, everyday backup, right, where I feel, and again, just my opinion, I'm your chief of police, so I'm opining, is that this is uncharted territory, that we're trying to figure out what this means. And I just don't want our cops to hesitate. They know that. I've touched every single one of them and had the conversation with them. But we're human beings. This is a big to-do in our world in law enforcement here in Dane County. Folks outside of Dane County have reached out to me because they've heard about this, law enforcement. It is unfortunately going to cause hesitation. And that's unfortunate, because I don't think that was an intention of my former counterparts at Madison. And by the way, the chief of police at Madison and I have known each other for 20 plus years, right? So
did you guys come on the force about the same time?
He was more senior than me,
okay.
Patrick. But we'll give him a few years
Sure.
ahead of me. But we were on the streets at the same time, right? We were doing patrol work at the same time. We've known each other. I have respect for John Patterson. There's obvious disagreements. I understand his disagreement of our pursuit policy. I disagree with their pursuit policy. I did when I worked there, right? There's no secret about that as a traffic captain. But it is what it is. We have mutual respect. We do things differently, and that's okay. That is totally okay.
Well, and it's not so different, because our policy is pretty much in line with state patrol, which sets the standard in Wisconsin, or arguably sets.
We are not the unicorn. And sometimes I think that, because I do, to your point or somebody's point, I do press releases, and I try to make sure that the community I work for is informed, and I give a lot of details, and I think that you all expect that. I'm going to continue to do that. Well, that gets picked up quite a bit in our local media, and I appreciate the work that they do to inform the public. But that sometimes makes us seem like we're the odd duck, like what's happening in Monona. And I've asked this question before, and I've talked about it here. Our agency in 2024 had 51 pursuits. I always highlight, of 51 pursuits, a handful of those were assisting outside agencies. So you can't just say we've started 51 pursuits. And of the 51 pursuits, 41%, so a little under half, right, were terminated by your officers. So we didn't even, chase them far, right? They were terminated based on the conditions or the reason for the stop, et cetera. But I count a pursuit if somebody, and our officers do, if you flee a half a block, that's a pursuit, and we try to stop you, that's a pursuit. Not everyone does that. I'm not making any inferences. I'm just saying that there's no uniformity in terms of what absolutely categorizes something as a pursuit. Some may call it a slow to stop. We've heard that expression on the radio, have we not, Officer Hoffman? Right? A slow to stop. Oh, they're just not stopping for us, but we're not pursuing, right? They're not stopping for us. Well, that doesn't count as a data figure for that particular agency, I'm guessing, right? There's not a week that goes by, I'm fairly confident, that I haven't heard about a individual fleeing from one of our partner agencies in Dane County. And dare I say more, and maybe put Officer Hoffman on the spot, and Officer Wunsch, who works the street, filling in too. Can I say, if not every day, every 2 days, every 3 days, we definitely hear people fleeing from law enforcement in Dane County, and it's not us.
I think there's been 2 or 3 today that have fled from Madison.
Mhm.
Probably from, based on my conversations with members of the Madison Police Department,
Mhm.
reports don't even get done on these. Like that's
Mhm.
that's how I know that they're not documenting these things, because the officers aren't. They just know what their policy is. They just have accepted that.
Mhm.
So that doesn't go into their data points. They have cars fleeing from them at a rate that is significantly higher than us.
So,
We're just not.
so Officer Hoffman, that's an interesting point. Would you concur with the statement that training officers to use prudent judgment makes them more accountable than just simply having a blanket policy of no?
And what it does is it creates situations where there are times where Madison would be justified in chasing a car, and they don't have fear of their policy. They don't have a fear that they've never done it before. There was an incident somewhat recently just on the edge of our city where somebody intentionally tried to run over a Madison police officer. Very intentional act, tried to strike that officer with a vehicle. That was seen by another Madison officer who chose to not engage because he was nearing the end of his probationary period and said, I'm not losing my job.
Wow.
Because I chased a vehicle that tried to kill a Madison police officer a block from there. That's what it creates in their officers by having a policy like they have.
And then in your experience too, would you say that there's a possibility that simply having a policy where there is no pursuits, would you potentially agree that in your experience with people that do run, is it about winning? Is it about, well, if I just get away, nothing's going to happen to me, and now it's about winning?
You're speaking from their perspective?
Yes.
Yeah, so when I've been a cop for 10 years, this wasn't a thing 10 years. Nobody fled from the police 10 years going to car. It was always an immediate stop and a footbill from the vehicle before the police could get set up. The moment they realized that if I just run, literally nothing happens to me. There's no consequences. They can't prove that I was driving. Even if they're the owner of the vehicle, the police have to prove that they were driving the car. All they have to say is I wasn't driving the car. And that's enough to well, I guess there's nothing we can do.
Oh, they could ticket the owner of the car, right?
They could write a ticket.
Oh,
They may or may not even get paid.
Yep.
And I can't speak to that.
Sure.
As far as I know how they handle that, they may or may not issue those tickets.
Mhm.
I didn't work there, I don't know. But I can say that the moment that it was realized publicly that there was no consequences, the floodgates opened. And there was a huge influx in vehicles fleeing from the police. And it's only going to get worse as long as there's no consequences.
And maybe this is for you too, Chief,
Yep.
and any of the
Get them off the hook for a little bit.
yes, any of the other officers here.
SWAT thing.
What do we see happen? I mean, we break off the pursuit. What happens? What does the driver do?
With ours, what we've seen, and I've reported on this in my press releases, some of your police pursuit, I hate to call them police pursuits. It's criminal pursuits, right? It's not the act of the police officer that's creating this absolute horrible danger. And that's just my opinion. I know there's other opinions. It's the person behind the wheel, right? What some of your agency's pursuits where we've engaged were as a result of other agencies. We'll just, because we've talked about Madison, we'll just say Madison, have not pursued a reckless or dangerous driver or has tried to stop a vehicle and it has fled. There's this impression, and I'm telling you that there might be some truth to this, but what I've seen and what our officers report is that those persons, once they realize, the cop pulled over and turned their lights off, they don't go back to going the speed limit or even 5 over. They're driving through your community, which are some of these 51 pursuits, because the cops then caught them driving like they're going to kill somebody, right? Through our community. They're going 100+ miles an hour, miles after that other agency stopped pursuing them. They don't just pull over and everything's fine. I think the mentality has been, again, my perspective from my position here, right? Not speaking on anything else, is that we're shifting the liability. If something happens, heaven forbid, it wasn't us.
Yep.
Right? And this is where I've talked to the media, I've talked to all of you all. At what point does it become derelict in your duty? right? To do something about this dangerous driving who is absolutely, you've seen it, or it's been called in by multiple 911 callers, and it's just absolutely, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Now, mind you, if the conditions and the circumstances warrant termination, 41% of the time, folks, your cops have done it in 2025. In 2024. In 2025, 30% of the time, but we've had fewer chases. I would like to attribute that to some of the work your cops are doing and some of the PSAs we've been doing and some of the great work that the media has done in helping us share the message of please do not flee from the Monona police. Please don't. We want you to stop. It's safer for everyone to stop. Save yourselves, save some trouble. Don't flee from us. And we're hearing that feedback from the jail cells and from the Dane County Jail. We're hearing that from the deputies that work there, and we're hearing it from the persons we arrest. I stopped because it was Monona PD, or I should have known better because of Monona PD. We're listening to jail calls, which we have access and rights to, and which the other person on the phone is saying, you stupid blah, blah, blah. Why did you run from the Monona Police Department? Like, we wear cowboy hats, but we're not cowboys. But I want you to understand, we have to do things differently, or else this sense of lawlessness, and I can do whatever I want, is going to start impacting your homes because people are going to burglarize them. Your cars are going to start stealing them. The graffiti is going to start. You start letting the small stuff go and go and go and go and go. It's called broken window syndrome. This has been studied at Stanford, Harvard, you name it. It's a real thing. You're not going to get everyone. You're not going to get everything. And it's okay sometimes for the bad guy to get away. You'll catch him another day. But if every day the bad guy gets away and you never make an attempt, this is what the problem is.
It's like legislation.
Can I, just to keep conversation kind of focused back on the resolution itself?
Yes.
It's certainly relevant, but we're getting a little far afield of this.
Rachel?
Just one question about this in practice. So you made the statement, I believe, that when you ask for help, right, it's just a blanket ask for help. How do officers now distinguish, like, I don't want help from Madison, I'll take it from other places?
Officer Hoffman had one, I think, day 1 or 2 after I issued this directive. I think it was it you? It was a canine request, or
It was one of our night shift officers specifically requested anybody but Madison, which I think there were some Madison officers that were unaware of what had taken place. So there were a lot of questions brought up after that, I think.
So it's already happening, right? Where your officers are already they're already making those judgment calls. They know what's, imminent. They know what can wait. I'll give you a perfect example. We have a lot of drone resources in the county now, right? Your police department has 2 now. We have about 4 or 5 officers that are trained to operate drones. Is a drone an imminent need from our nearest neighbor, or can it wait till McFarland gets here with theirs, or Fitchburg gets here with theirs? Or I would argue that in most cases, yes, we can wait for that, right? They're trained to make life or death decisions, so I trust them to make decisions on when they need imminent help from Madison or not. That's a very good question.
Okay, well, that gets to the question. I mean, it's been a couple of months that this directive's been in place now, right?
No, the directive was issued on this December 14th.
Okay, all right. So we've got getting on 2 months with it. I mean, I think a lay understanding of this is going to be when you call for mutual aid, Madison, given where we're located, is most likely to be the most proximate at any given time. If it's a life or safety issue that's the most emergency type issue, you're going to call them anyway and you're covered that way. But do you see any deficit from people having to come from farther away, or not having that pool of officers, of not having the numbers you might hope to have, or having some delay in response time for something that's not an emergency, but you'd still like it to be faster?
Yeah, there's a delay, right? Sometimes our friends at Madison aren't available because they're so busy, right? And so we're used to getting state patrol first or the county first, because Madison they go to priority calls quite regularly from what I hear on the radio and what our officers explain. Priority means, exigent, events only, right? Everything else has to wait or self-reported. I've seen that regularly. And so McFarland is used to visiting our fair city. We've visited McFarland a bit too. Fitchburg has assisted us as well. Dane County, they're countywide. They are regularly patrolling the Beltline as it is. And so they often come. State Patrol likes to get off the highway from time to time, and they assist us quite regularly as well. And again, I've gotten the reassurances from my counterparts that if we call for their help will come. Yeah, we obviously share a school district with Cottage Grove. There's interest there as well. So I mean, they've indicated a strong commitment to assist as well. And so what the conversations I've had with our officers is, this is going to be a change because this is new to all of us. It's an adjustment. Life is on the line. You call for help no matter where it's coming from. Okay. If it can wait, if it's we're busy, but there's a crash on Monona Drive, they're on the side of the road. The only complaint is neck pain, that sort of thing. Can that wait? My argument is yes. That can wait for a McFarland officer to help respond if we're otherwise busy and won't be able to break from the call that we're working on. It's really case dependent, but these officers and I have all talked about it. We've done Q&A, we've done hypotheticals. I'm very confident that they're understanding what this means. It's unfortunate because of course you'd want the next door neighbor to come over as quick as they can. Now, what I will say is that from what we've seen already, again, back to my earlier point about self-assigning, just because we don't ask for help and use the words mutual aid doesn't mean they're not coming or that we haven't seen them already come, right? The Madison Police is still responding to assist us without us using the formal language to request them. Sometimes we give information out. Hey, just so you know, Monona's going to be in this area. They've got a vehicle X, Y, and Z. Madison will self-assign and respond and will come as backup. They've been given no directive to my knowledge that they shouldn't. In fact, they've been encouraged, is what I've been told, to continue to back us up.
Good.
The concern is, if they do come even on their own and something happens, and then we have possible consequences, financial consequences on this thing. Is this the start of a domino effect where, the hesitation from all the areas, and if they do it, to someone, whether it be us or anyone else around the county, will then this shift over again, and then we're into this whole mess of who's going to help who and how much is it going to cost, and it's just kind of out of control when you don't have control.
A little bit of the irony here is that all this was allowed before they had this resolution. So Wisconsin state statute already included language that says that in extreme circumstances, there is a mechanism to bill for expenses for above and beyond emergencies, right? So that already existed. So that should tell everyone or most people that this resolution was performative and had a specific goal in mind, which was to influence others' policies.
So I will also, if I may,
yeah,
I'll correct or answer some of the things that you said about if we don't ask for their help and they come anyway, we're still on the hook. No, we're not. We literally have to enact this mutual aid statute and then we're on the hook. If they self-assign, we never asked for them. We never activated that term, mutual aid, and there was no chief to chief or designee to designee sort of authorized yes and we're responding. That doesn't apply to mutual aid reimbursement, if that makes sense to you. So you self-assigned, you weren't formally asked for mutual aid, that doesn't apply to this.
Given that they're being performative in the first place right now, do we have any concern that they might still try to pull that if something happens when they self-assign?
I have my concerns about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a question.
Yes, please.
This is so unfortunate. It makes me sad. It really does, because we're so close to each other and we all should be helping each other. But Chief, can we see where we are in like 6 months and report back to kind of let us know how you're feeling about things, how things are going? Since this is so new still.
I can absolutely do that. I will tell you that in my last conversation and what I've been informed of and what I've seen through Madison's public meetings and discussions there is that the desire is for your police department to change its police pursuit policy. So I leave that up to you
Okay.
all to make that determination because that's where the needle is for them.
So they want us to do what they do.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just want to cut to the chase.
Yes. I mean,
I
there's
guess that
no,
wasn't a good thing to say, but
You're right. You're right, though.
you're absolutely right. Yes.
thank
Any other commentary on the resolution itself? With that said, is there?
I guess one more question.
Sure.
What signals have I mean, you've already communicated in the media, we've talked a lot about how we're not changing the pursuit policy. Do we consider this resolution to have value add in terms of more formally establishing that we're not going to change our pursuit policy, or is it kind of a separate thing in your mind?
Well, I'll leave the policy decisions to the policymakers, but because you're looking at me and if I may ask or answer, my perspective of it is in December and prior to that, I think it was December. Yes, this committee reviewed by opening up the conversation of our pursuit policy, the topic of the grappler. At any moment, any of you or the alders can take up the pursuit policy and change anything you all. We work at your, we work for you. December, if you recall, was our last committee. No, we talked in November. It was right before Thanksgiving. We all met. That was fun. I'd love to see you though. And so that conversation came up in November. Council took up the issue with 2 readings, so twice in December, I want to say, right? And so not to say we can't do it again, and it's policymakers can do that, but we just visited our policy. Yes, we were talking about the grappler, but I think that we also engaged in the conversation on what's worth it, what's not. We had that conversation. So what I think is happening is that those outside of Monona may not be interested or privy to these meetings and these discussions that we've been having. I don't want to assume, I'm just saying based on the viewer rate up on YouTube, is that I think people who live here pay attention, right, and are engaged. People who don't may not know that we've had these robust discussions on our policy. It's not like it's blanket and forgot about. We regularly talk about our policy.
And when we had that pause and we solicited feedback from our community, it was almost overwhelmingly in favor of our policy from our community. I mean, we heard from outside of our community, but from our community, it was overwhelmingly in favor. Any other questions? Seeing that, I think we could, would anyone entertain a motion to recommend the resolution to council?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion?
Alder Kugel, who would you, or Alder DePula, who would you like to, okay, she'll defer to, thank you.
Yes. All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. That brings us to reports. Fire and EMS Department, Chief McMullen, are you still with us?
I am still with you through the long discussion, and I'm just going to say it on the discussion you guys just had. I appreciate the openness in the discussion. There's sometimes a feeling, not within our city, that things happen in secret and things get pushed through that people may not like. We bring stuff out in the open, people talk about it, we vote, we move forward. I think that's fabulous. From a fire department standpoint, I'm going to steal Joe's thunder a little bit because we do have a PFC meeting coming up next Monday to interview to fill our current one position that we have vacant. We had several good candidates. Unfortunately, a couple of them withdrew from the process before we could actually complete it. But out of who did show up, we had a very good candidate rise to the top that I'm very excited to bring to police and fire next Monday. Other than that, we also have 5 new POP members coming on board, all 5 of which are fully fire certified, which is a rare find nowadays. We had a really good group with our last POP hire, and we're hoping to have just as good this time. One of them, Officer Winch, is probably familiar with because she's still student at Monona Grove High School. Took it upon herself to go through the Next Gen Academy while still in school. So we're going to give her a position that's provisional until she graduates high school this May. But we wanted to make sure that we got a hold of her before some other department did. So again, a lot of really good candidates. We had 23 this last time apply. We're averaging between 20 and 30 every time that we run a process, which is twice a year. So your POP side is doing exceedingly well. Nothing really major to report department-wise other than January was a record breaker of a month for us. We had almost 180 calls in January. Busiest January on record as far back as I can go. And last year we ended up the year with 1,831 unique calls for service. Which is again a substantial increase over the year before. So our folks are busy. They're running between 5 and 6 calls a day. You probably heard them go out just a little bit ago. They had a gas leak call in the city. And our crews are doing a great job. A lot of that is from you folks. You guys are very supportive of the fire department. Very, very appreciated. I I don't take your years of service for granted, Larry. I know you served a lot of years on the fire department, but um, the public support is very much appreciated. So unless anybody has any questions, that's all I've got for tonight.
Any questions for Chief McMullen? Seeing none, Chief Cheney.
I will follow the thank you with a thank you. The cops on the street have a difficult job as it is. Some of the stuff they see and do, from retail thefts at our favorite stores to problem solving the retail thefts at our favorite stores, to helping to address mental illness in our community, to homeless issues, to you name it, to death investigations, to being spat at and called out every name in the book while they're going in between all those calls, right? With the expectation for me that they still do it with professionalism. They put the smile on as much as they can. Once you get in the PD, game's on, unload, take your vest off, maybe say one or two profanities if you need to, but go back out there and be professional, and they do that. And guess what? We have the body cams to prove it, right? So, we do regular audits. It's in our policy. I look at them. Our supervisors look at them. Are we perfect human beings? No, we're not. We address things where we need to address them. But I am so proud of your police department. And guess what keeps them going? Yes. When's the last time I cried in front of you guys? Was it like a year ago now? Well, we're due. We're due, Miss Davis. I'm crying again.
The annual crying of the chief.
The annual crying of the chief. I am so proud of your police department. And it's because, gosh, it's because they do the work they do, because they're proud to work for you.
Thank you, Chief.
I'm gonna get myself together. But so am I. So, listen, I brag about this place all the time, and I try not to brag too much because I don't want somebody coming after my job. But we're not perfect, and we're all ready for change, and we're all trying to adapt to the new technology and AI now, and we do what you want us to do. And so just know that the cookies, if you can bring more apples and bananas and cookies, we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Is that why you're always over at the police department?
But the thank yous go a long way. They really, really do. So I just want to say thank you for that. All right, I'm gonna get myself together and finish out. Grappler training. Your officers are back from Arizona, sunny Arizona. They brought a little bit, about 2 or 3 degrees warmer weather back with them, but they are all now master trainers, which means that they can train other officers from the grappler or to use of the grappler. And the training was exceptional. They've learned from a lot of folks and agencies who already use the grappler that were just sending master trainers to be trained, and a lot of great success stories. Some, look out for this. things we already knew about when we did our research. To Alder Kugel's point about, you know, I think that was you when we talked about speed limits and why is there a low limit and why, you know, and let's talk about that top limit. I mean, these are all the things that the officers heard when they were at the training. Our lieutenant was out there. He was not getting actually trained to be a trainer himself. The reason I asked him to go out there was sort of a bird's eye view, right? And I wanted to get the command perspective of the training. And so he came back and said, Chief, this is going to be good for our community. It's going to discourage people from fleeing, right? Once our wonderful friends in the media help advertise, and it's going to stop suspects that would have been more challenging to stop if we did not have this device. So we're excited. We're working with our outfitter to get our F-150 outfitted soon, and then our officers trained. And there's training that they have to do, both PowerPoint and practical training, and they have to demonstrate successful deployment and understanding of the grappler. The cadet program, so we are participating with the cadet program. It used to be called the Explorer program back in the day. It's the young persons who are aspiring to be police officers. McFarland has a pretty healthy program. We do not, so we're teaming with McFarland, and so there'll be now the Monona and McFarland cadet program. I've said you don't have to change the patch quite yet on the uniforms, but at some point when we get more established, maybe that's when they'll do it. But in the meantime, one of our officers, his decision and his request and his presentation to me, anytime that somebody comes with an idea, they have to come prepared. And so they literally have to put a presentation together, and they have to, get ready for the yays and nays and the questions. And I think it helps your officers be better prepared and think more critically at the program that they're proposing. But he did a great job, obviously, because now we're part of the cadet program with Harlan. We have a new intern every year. I check in with the officers and say, hey, are we interned out? Like, it's tough giving up many of you have done ride-alongs. It's tough giving up your passenger seat. That's your office, right? That's your comfort space. Every year they've said yes. Every semester they've said yes. We have and continue to have the highest rated criminal justice internship program in the entire county. We're from MATC, from Edgewood, from UW, and they're basing that on opportunity, but also the feedback that former interns provide prior to graduation, and we're at the top. As a former criminal justice intern who interned at the police department myself, I am so proud of that. I've had some good experiences, some not good experiences in my internship experience in college, and so this is a good opportunity for aspiring college kids, I don't want to call them kids, young adults, to think about what paths they want to take in law enforcement. Some decide, I want to be a crime scene analyst and I don't want to do the boots on the ground work. Some decide, I want to work for you. Some have. On to my next point. You're a part-time officer, former intern, is doing very well at Black Hawk Tech, the police academy. And I spoke about him the last time, and Commissioner Fontaine was a part of that selection. He's doing great. We expect more great things out of Sam Bachman in the academy. We continue to support him. And then kind of tying back to the grappler, but also discussing budget. And I mentioned this not too long ago, but new to you. Remember during our budget discussions, I asked for 2 vehicles in this budget cycle because of rotation. Well, I obviously respect the decisions that were made. They're very, very tough decisions because everyone's going to ask for things they need. So I don't envy the policymakers and the mayor having to make these tough decisions. But we're having a squad issue in which we are going to need at some point 2 cars. So instead of the all-electric administrative car that we talked about, or the hybrid car, I'm going to need a patrol car because our oldest patrol car in the fleet is ready to go. It's donezo. That gives us an opportunity to potentially get a Tahoe, which can outfit a grappler. So we have found a means using the same capital budget that's been authorized by council to purchase a Tahoe and outfit it with a grappler. And so I will be going before council in 2 weeks to request that. we might have to expedite it, and so I'll ask for some consideration from council because the dealership's only gonna hold a car for so long. But that's up to council's decision, but I wanted you all to be made aware of the change and why I'm making that request. And then thanks to Jerry. Jerry and I have an amazing working relationship. We bounce things off of each other. He bounces grant opportunities off of me, and I need to do a better job of bouncing some for fire with him. Some opportunities I am privy to. Jerry's at a conference. I'm going to a conference next week. We learn all these things because of our networking and meeting people and sharing information. And you all allow us to go to these conferences through our budget and contract. Oh, it's in my contract, but budget. And so I want to thank you for that, again, for allowing not only your officers and your firefighters to go to training, but your administrators, your chiefs of police, because I think it helps create better fire, EMS, and police and dispatch departments as well. So, woo, that is it.
All right. Any questions for Chief? All right.
I just have one.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, did you bring tissues with you tonight?
I didn't. I'm here sucking on my sleep, Jerry.
I appreciate you.
I love you, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fontaine.
Yeah, no PFC updates beyond what Jerry already captured. We'll be meeting on Monday.
All right. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
And we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Let me hit stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night. See you, Jerry.